Allocation is one of the essential topics to understand what economics is. And before we proceed with allocation and define it, let us first review and see what is the definition of economics. So, economics is the study of how individuals and societies choose to use the scarce resources that nature and previous generations have provided. So the key word here is choose, because economics is a behavioral or a social science, and that is what we are trying to understand and how people react and make decisions based on the resources around them. In large measures, it is the study of how people make choices. The choices that people make, when added up, translate into societal choices. So, therefore, we are trying to understand what society uh, will do, or what choices will they make in regards to the resources around them. We have here our character. This is Sir Fritz, and not just Sir Fritz. There are also other people around with Sir Fritz. So that defines what society is, because society is composed of different people, a group of people. So, and they gather in one place. And Sir Fritz, together with the people around him, will make decisions, their day-to-day decisions, based on the resources around them. Okay, so the resources. Okay, we are surrounded with resources. These are natural resources or man-made resources. We have here the coconut tree. Okay, so the coconut tree with its palm leaves, and then there's the grass, and then they bear fruits. Not just that, the other animals. Okay, so yeah, so the carabaos, for example, or other animals, the cows, the goats, okay, the sheep. They are examples of resources that human beings consume. We consume these resources, okay, and these resources enable us to survive. Okay, so we interact with the resources around us, and our day-to-day decisions are based on how we deal with these resources. Allocation. Allocation is defined as the wise distribution of resources to different uses in order to meet and satisfy the needs and wants of society. So allocation is the proper distribution of these resources. Okay, so when we say distribution, there is a need to have it distributed properly, because in economics, resources are seen as scarce, meaning they are limited. Okay, they are they are few. Okay, and not everybody can access these resources, especially if the population is high. There are a lot of people in a certain area that needs to consume the resources. Okay, so therefore, there is a need to allocate these resources, and that is why there are countries around the globe that create policy. Okay, they create policies. These are rules. Okay, and who will get what. Okay, so meaning the society is stratified, and who will get the different resources and who will not receive the given resources. Okay, so, and that is what allocation is all about. And the reason why we also need to allocate resources, aside from it is scarce and few, and that is because we human beings have unlimited wants and needs. But since resources are scarce and human wants and needs are unlimited, there is a need to properly distribute these resources in order to provide who needs it the most. Okay, so that is why allocation is an important topic to understand, and that is for us to have a glimpse of what economics is. Okay, allocation is also one way of answering the concern of scarcity. And one important element to understand in allocation of resources is that there is what we call economic systems. Okay, when we say economic systems, it is a way of organizing the different sectors of economy in order to answer the economic concern of society. So there are different sectors of the economy. Okay, there is those agriculture. Okay, so we call them agriculture. So these are the sector of the economy or people, okay, who produces agricultural products like crop, okay, um, even livestock. Okay, they belong to the uh, agricultural sector. Okay, so livestock. Okay. And aside from that, there is also what we call the industrial sector. Okay, so these are those people who transform the raw materials or the agricultural products into something new. They produce mga canned goods, okay, or mga technologies, okay, and they get their raw materials from the agricultural sector. And there is what we call the service sector. Okay, so the service sector, okay, these are mainly composed of human resources, okay, human capital, where uh, it is the human beings or the people who produces or shares their skills and talents in order to satisfy the needs and wants of the society. Okay, so the service sectors like the teachers, the schools, yes, they provide service. The salons, okay, the hotels, they provide service. Okay, and their goal is to satisfy the wants and needs of uh, the society. And these people from the service sector will get resources from the agricultural sector and the industrial sector in order for them to effectively uh, provide good service. So these are the different sectors of the economy. Okay, so the economic system is uh, a way of organizing the different sectors. So when we say economic system, it is a way of organizing the different sectors of the economy in order to answer the different economic concerns of society. And the system includes production, distribution, and consumption. There are four economic systems, and which are traditional, command market, and mixed economy. Okay. When we talk about economic system, we talk about how things work in a country. So if this is a country, okay, so let's just put it that way, country, and in the country there are a group of people in that area. Okay, so there are people within the area in that certain country. Okay, and for a country to effectively produce, okay, for the country to effectively produce and distribute goods and services, there is a need to follow different there's a need to follow a system, okay, and who will produce, who will distribute, and who will consume. Okay, so there's a need to have a good system in order for the economy to function effectively. Okay, and one of the economic system is what we call traditional. So when we say traditional, it is based on belief, cultures, customs, and religion of a society. So the leader is in this system is usually the elder member of the group or society. So production is focused on the basic needs like food, clothing, and shelter. The methods used in production is time tested and is handed down by one generation to the next. And traditional system is usually used by rural areas and developing countries. Okay, so when we say traditional, we go back to the tribal period, okay, where there is a chief, okay, and there are followers. Okay, so there are mga constituents, okay, mga tribe members. Okay, so the chief is in charge of everything. Okay, he has power over and every members of the tribe, okay, or in that small village. Okay, and then he commands what needs to be produced. So it is the chief who decides what crops to be produced. Okay, so meaning the decision. Okay, so the decision is in the chief's uh, hand. Okay, so he decides what will be produced, what will be consumed, and what will be distributed. And usually, when you look at traditional system, okay, they are mainly focused on basic needs, okay, like food, clothing, and shelter. Okay, because the very purpose of this traditional uh, system is for the existence, okay, for them to live and survive uh, in the environment they lived in. Okay, so that is why power, okay, the decision to decide, the power to decide uh, what to consume, what to produce, and how things will be distributed is centralized and belongs to the uh, chief, okay, the chieftain, okay, of that area. And usually they are in rural areas or developing countries. Okay, so next we have the command economy. So the command system is led by a centralized authority, more often than not by the one who has control over the government. It is the government that decides on what the society needs. It has direct authority as to how to use the factors of production like land, labor, and capital in order to achieve the economic objective. Okay, so when we say command system, so the command system is, yes, we look at our society, we are, uh, it is fragmented or not, it is broken down into different cities. Okay, so these are cities, and in those cities there are people. Okay, so these are cities. Okay, so the cities have their mayors. Okay, and they also have their barangay captains in the Philippines. Okay, they have their mga local leaders. Okay, so these local leaders are under the central government. Okay, which is the president in the Philippine setting. Okay, but in other countries who are what we call authoritarian, okay, they followed the command system. So they are a good example of what a command system is, like uh, North Korea. Yes, the power is centralized, meaning the decision is centralized. Okay, so unlike the traditional one where local leaders have their own power, or they can decide what how they will consume the resources around them. Okay, but in a command economy, they are these small groups of people or small cities or small societies, okay, are then centralized into one control, okay, and which is under the command economic system. So therefore, the president or the leader of that country, okay, will decide uh, what products to be produced, okay, and how will it be distributed and how it will be consumed, okay, like land, how will people make use of the land, so therefore they decide what crops to be planted, okay, what crops should not be planted, okay, and they decide how much should be invested, okay, and they decide how much will the people be paid and who are qualified to do the labor. Okay, so yes, that is how a command economic system works. So it is centralized, okay, where small societies or small cities or group of people are collectively under the power of a national authority. Okay, so yes, the Philippines is also follows some part of the command system. Okay, but not totally. Okay, and that is why we have what we call the market system. So the market system is a different economic system. So in the market system, there exists freedom of choice as to how to produce goods and services. So the market acts on the interest of the consumer and producer in a free market. So the keyword here is freedom. So in a market economy, yes, there is a leader, so the president is still present. Okay, so there still exists a national leader. Okay, so under that we have what we call mga businessmen. Okay, so let's just tag them as letter B. Okay, okay, so businessmen. So these are businessmen, meaning these are people with capital. Okay, meaning they have the funds, and they also have some of them have the land. Okay, so they have the resources to start up production. So therefore, these businessmen, okay, they will decide on what product they want to produce because it is a free market. Okay, meaning they can decide how will they use their land for production. So if they want to produce baskets, okay, then yes, they can produce basket. Okay, if they have the resources to produce a basket, then yes, they can. If this one wants to produce chemicals, yes, they can produce chemicals because he has the resources. Okay, and then and same with the other businessmen, they have the rights to choose on how they want or what resource products they want to produce out from the resources they have. Okay, and on the consumer side, okay, let's just tag them letter C. On the consumers has the right if they will buy or consume basket products or chemical products or other products that the businessmen produce. So therefore, these consumers, since this is a free market, they decide on what product they want to consume. So therefore, the president here isn't, or the national leader isn't really controlling how things work in the economy. What it does is that it just collect tax, okay, and let the things or let the people or and the businessman and the consumer interact with or engage in transactions. Okay, so yes, and that's how things work in a free market. Okay, so yes, the businessman produces the product, and then the consumers decide if they want to consume it or not. But if the consumers decide that, oh, they will not consume your product, they will not consume chemicals, they will not consume baskets, and then here's another businessman that produces apple. So apple as the fruit. Okay, so if the consumers decided to consume apple instead of these other products, then these other businessmen will be motivated also to produce apple so that they can compete and have a share of income from the consumers. Okay, so that's the good thing about with this um, free market system. Okay, but the problem here is that it is prone to manipulation. Okay, so what if these businessmen will tie up with each other and make and control the market? Okay, so therefore the people have no choice, will be left no choice. Okay, so what if people needed apple, but then this businessman cut off the production of apple and change it to lemon? Okay, since there is no apple, okay, for the consumers to consume, they will be forced to consume lemon. Okay, so that's a good example of, and the bad side as well, of what a free market is. Okay, next we have what we call the mixed economy. Okay, so the mixed economy is a combination of all three economic systems. In this system, there is a freedom of choice in the market, and at the same time, the government may intervene in determining market prices if it deems that it will benefit the society. Mixed economy uses both traditional and modern methods of production. Okay, so yes, this is mixed economy. So the yeah, and from the very word itself, it's the combination of the three. Okay, so it you can see it in most of the countries. They follow what we call the mixed economic system. So meaning there is government control, okay, and there's also a balance of freedom. Okay, so what the government do is it create limits. So it limits the it controls, it limits the freedom to produce. What the it limits the freedom to produce. It also limits the freedom to consume. Okay, and also its distribution. Okay, so in a mixed economy, yes, the businessman. Okay, we have here the businessman. So the businessman has the right to produce the product they want in order to satisfy the needs of the consumers. Okay, so if the consumers decided that they want apples, okay, so the businessman will produce apples. If they see that most of the people wanted to eat apple, then they produce apple. Okay, but what the government do is it limits uh, the capacity. It limits the businessman from overpricing, okay, or dictating what the value of these apples are. Okay, so that's what the government do. So therefore, if the government says that every apple should only cost 5 pesos, then the businessman will have to follow that in order, okay, as well to protect the consumers. Okay, not just that, the government also motivate other businessmen to not just produce apple but also produce orange. Okay, so not just apple but also orange. So therefore, there will be variety of different products for the consumers to decide on what product to consume. And at the same time, it will also protect businessmen from consumers because if the consumers will decide that they will not eat any or consume any of the product, okay, so then the government itself will find ways for these people, okay, to consume the products that are from the businessmen or the business leaders. Okay, so yes, that's the beauty of the mixed economy. Okay, so yes, for that is also to prevent overpricing. Yes, okay, overpricing, and also to motivate as well businessmen to produce different products. Okay, and they will also the government also limits what product needs to be consumed by the consumers. Okay, so that is why there are what we call illegal drugs. Okay, not all drugs are consumable by the consumers. Okay, there are prescribed drugs. Okay, so one of it, yes, that's one of the examples of limiting the consumption and distribution. Okay, okay, so that's how the government controls the whole economic activity. Okay, so yes, that wraps up everything for this discussion about allocation and the different economic system.